The scent of marinated lamb and honey-glazed carrots was a warm blanket over the bustling house. It was Nana's 80th birthday, and the entire Patel clan had convened, a riot of color, laughter, and controlled chaos. In the kitchen, Leo, the youngest grandson at 7, was on his dedicated stool, solemnly placing cilantro garnish on a bowl of raita under the watchful eye of his great-grandmother. "Not a mountain, Beta," she chuckled, her voice like wrestling parchment. "A sprinkle, like confetti." Leo nodded, his tongue peeking out in concentration. His uncle, Arjun, the second son, surveyed the scene from the doorway, a glass of sparkling water in hand. He felt a familiar, tender ache in his chest, the joy of belonging to this vibrant tapestry, threadbare in some spots, but fiercely held together. He watched his wife, Mira, effortlessly glide between helping his mother with the samosas and stopping his father from adding just one more chili to the curry. His brother, Rohan, held court in the living room, animatedly explaining the nuances of his latest real estate development to a captive audience of uncles. Rohan's suit was expensive, tailored, a sharp contrast to Arjun's soft, well-worn cotton shirt. The party was a symphony of their life, the clatter of pans, his father's booming laugh, the melodic chatter in English and Gujarati, the sticky fingers of children sneaking sweets. It was in these everyday crescendos that Arjun found his deepest peace. He wasn't like Rohan, who built monuments of glass and steel. Arjun built moments. He was the one who remembered which cousin was lactose intolerant, who fixed Nana's favorite radio, whose classroom of third graders made get well soon cards when Dad had his knee surgery. After the feast, when bellies were full and the air was soft with contentment, their father, Mahesh, cleared his throat and tapped his glass. "A toast to my mother, our matriarch, whose hands have kneaded the dough for our family's joy." Everyone cheered. "And," he continued, his eyes finding Rohan, "while we are all here, your mother and I have an announcement about our legacy." A hush fell, punctuated only by the distant hum of the dishwasher. Arjun felt Mira's hand slip into his, her fingers cool and steady. "We are so proud of this family," Mahesh said, his voice thickening. "We have worked hard, saved, and invested. We want to ensure our children's futures are secure." He paused, looking at Rohan with unmistakable pride. "Rohan, your vision, your ambition, it is the future. We are giving you $1.5 million. It is the capital to launch your new waterfront project. We know it will multiply, for you and for this family." A wave of congratulatory murmurs swept the room. Rohan stood, beaming, accepting backslaps. Arjun's smile felt plastered on. He was happy for his brother, truly. Rohan had the Midas touch. He would turn it into something magnificent. Then his mother, Priya, spoke. Her eyes, usually so warm, settled on Arjun. They held a different emotion, a sorrowful resolve. "Arjun, Beta," she said, and the room went utterly still. "For you, we have our blessings and our advice. The money, it must go where it can grow. You have a good, steady job, but you live in a rented apartment. You drive a 10-year-old car. You and Mira, you are comfortable, but you do not build. You do not reach." She took a sharp breath, and the words that followed landed with the quiet, devastating force of a stone dropped into a deep well. The silence was absolute. Leo looked from his mother to his father, confused by the sudden chill. Arjun felt the words not as a blow, but a slow, chilling immersion. He saw the pained look in his father's eyes, the confirmation there. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thought. It was a verdict, long deliberated, and now delivered in public. His life, the parent-teacher conferences, the Saturday mornings fixing Nana's leaky tap, the careful budgeting for a hoped-for backyard, the deep, quiet love in his own home was being measured and found tragically wanting. He didn't remember leaving the room. He found himself on the back porch, the cool night air a shock to his lungs. The sounds of the party continued, muffled, a cruel parody of celebration. The scent of jasmine, usually so soothing, now felt cloying. The sliding door opened and closed. It was Nana. She didn't speak, just stood beside him, her small frame leaning into his. She held 2 glasses of chai, the cardamom scent a familiar anchor. They gave him the empire, and they gave me a label, failure. The word tasted like ash. Nana sipped her chai. When my grandfather and I came here, she began, her gaze on the distant stars, we had 2 suitcases and a debt. Our first home was 1 room. We shared a bathroom with 4 other families. Success was not a number. It was the day we could afford an entire kilo of ghee. It was the first Diwali we string lights outside our own door. Your father, he worked hard to give you more. He forgot to see what he was giving you. She turned to him, her eyes luminous in the dark. Arjun, you build the things that cannot be foreclosed. You build the heart of this family. Who is the first person Leo calls when he has a nightmare? Who does Mira's face light up for when he walks in the door? Who sat with me for 3 hours last week, listening to old stories I've told 100 times? That is not smallness. That is the foundation. The money, it is paper. What you have built is stone. Inside, the party was fragmenting. Mira's voice, usually so gentle, was sharp with hurt as she gathered their coats. Leo was crying, clinging to his father's leg. Rohan looked stricken, caught between his triumph and the wreckage of his brother. Arjun, wait, it's not, he started, but Arjun just shook his head, lifting Leo into his arms. The drive home was silent, a void filled only by Leo's sniffles. Their apartment, usually a sanctuary of books and mismatched cozy furniture, felt like a cage that night. The accusation echoed off the walls. Failure, smallness, do not build. In the days that followed, a coldness settled, a frost over their family landscape. Phone calls went unanswered. Family group chats were silent. Arjun went through the motions at school, the laughter of his students feeling distant. He replayed his life like a forensic accountant, searching for the ledger where he had fallen short. Was it turning down the corporate training job, choosing the smaller, community-focused school, prioritizing Mira's residency schedule over networking events? A week later, a knock came at his classroom door after hours. It was Rohan, still in his suit, but looking frayed. "Can I come in?" Arjun nodded, continuing to staple a bulletin board display on our solar system. "I tried to give it back," Rohan blurted out, sitting on a tiny student chair. "The money. Mom and Dad, they refused. They said it was strategic." He ran a hand through his hair. "They're wrong, Arjun. What they said, it was cruel, and it's not true." "Isn't it?" Arjun asked quietly, turning. "You have assets, equity, a trajectory. I have a lease and a 401k. In their language, in the world's language, that's the scorecard." "Since when have you ever played by the world's scorecard?" Rohan countered, his voice fierce. "Who flew cross-country to be with me when my first deal fell apart? Who held my hand when I was 7 and terrified of the dark? That's my currency, brother. That's what I bank on." He looked around the bright, colorful room. "You build people. I just build buildings." The thaw was slow, delicate as the first green shoots after a hard frost. It began with small, stubborn acts of reconnection. Arjun and Mira started showing up for Sunday dinners again, their presence a quiet rebellion. The air was strained, but they came. Leo would climb into his grandfather's lap, a silent peace offering no one could refuse. Then, the storm. A historic rainfall overwhelmed the city's aging infrastructure. The basement of Mahesh and Priya's house, where decades of memories were stored, flooded. The call came at 3 a.m. Panicked, Mahesh had called Rohan first. "The project manager," Rohan said, "has a crew. They'll be there Tuesday." It was Arjun who answered the phone on the second try. He heard the despair in his father's voice. In 10 minutes, he was in his old car, with Mira packing extra towels and thermoses of coffee. He arrived to find his parents standing ankle-deep in muddy water, clutching photo albums, looking utterly lost. Without a word, Arjun rolled up his pants, waded in, and started lifting soggy boxes onto dry land. He worked with a quiet, methodical urgency. He saved his father's engineering diplomas, his mother's wedding sari, the brittle, handwritten recipes from her mother. He didn't direct a crew. He did the work himself, his hands tender with the salvage of a lifetime. As dawn broke, grimy and exhausted, they sat on the stairs of the unaffected upper floor. Priya handed Arjun a cup of tea, her eyes red-rimmed. She watched him, her son, the failure, whose clothes were ruined, who had come without being asked, and who knew without being told which box held her father's letters. "You knew," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You knew what to save." "I paid attention," he said simply, blowing on the steaming tea. That was the crack in the dam. The apology, when it came, was not in a grand speech, but in the language their family understood best: food and presents. The next Friday, Mahesh and Priya showed up at Arjun's apartment with a bag of groceries. "We're cooking for you," his mother stated, her tone leaving no room for argument. They moved around Arjun and Mira's small kitchen, a dance of practiced ease. Mahesh chopped onions, Priya ground spices, the rhythmic thump of the mortar and pestle a familiar heartbeat. They talked of nothing consequential, the neighbor's new dog, the price of tomatoes, but the act itself was everything. It was an unspoken ratification. This is your home. You belong here. As the tadka sizzled, filling the apartment with the scent of cumin and mustard seeds, Leo dragged his grandfather to see his latest Lego spaceship. Mahesh got down on the floor, his stiff knees creaking, and listened with rapt attention. At the table, squeezed together, the warmth of the shared meal did what words still struggled to do. It wove them back together. Finally, Mahesh put down his fork. "The money," he said, his voice gravelly, "it was never about love. It was fear. Fear that the world would not see your worth and that we had not prepared you for its harsh measures. We confused safety with success. We were wrong." Priya reached across the table, her hand still smelling of turmeric, covering Arjun's. "You are not a failure. You are our heart, and a heart is not measured in square feet or stock portfolios." The reconciliation wasn't a single moment, but a mosaic of new, deliberate, everyday moments. Mahesh started asking Arjun for advice, not on finance, but on fixing the squeaky garage door, on choosing a book for his book club. Priya began calling Mira for her dal recipe, a tacit acknowledgement of her daughter-in-law's mastery of their own traditions. Rohan, using a fraction of the capital, invested as a silent partner in a community arts center Arjun's school was championing, not as charity, but as a fusion of their strengths. On a bright Saturday afternoon months later, the family gathered again, this time in the small but sun-drenched backyard of Arjun and Mira's new home, a house they were buying, with a modest but crucial gift for the down payment from their parents, labeled not as an investment, but as a foundation grant. Nana sat in the place of honor, a blanket over her knees. Leo was trying to teach his great-grandmother how to blow bubbles. Rohan was manning the grill, joking with his father about overcooking the burgers. The air was filled with the scent of charcoal, blooming lilacs, and the sound of effortless laughter. Arjun looked around, taking in the scene, the imperfect, mended, beautiful tapestry of them. He thought of the 1.5 million, now bricks and glass, downtown, and he thought of his inheritance, which was this: the resilience in Mira's laugh, the wonder in Leo's eyes, the wisdom in Nana's stories, the hard-won respect in his father's gaze, the solidarity in his brother's clasp on his shoulder. He had built no empires, but he had built this table, this circle, this unshakable sense of belonging. He had built a life, not of headlines, but of heartbeats, a rhythm steady, true, and infinitely more valuable. In the economy of love, he was and always had been a billionaire.